All right, welcome to The Real Deal. And today we have, it's not just a clever rhyme, it is his actual name. We have Tom Beal, The Real Deal with Tom Beal. Tom Beal is a unique mentor and coach that has empowered thousands of high achievers from stages worldwide to simplify life and success. His NDE, near-death experience, was on 9/11/98. He was walking towards the bright white light and said, "Stop! This isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you have more for me to accomplish. Send me back." Then I was told in ICU he may never walk or talk properly again. With over 20 years of stage experience and dealing with thousands of high achievers, he has helped numerous clients step out of their comfort zones and limiting beliefs to experience more joy, peace, and results. Through his proprietary philosophies and strategies, Tom empowers clients to add urgency to live their lives fully and unapologetically by design and have it all in this brief journey we call life. Oh my goodness. Welcome, Tom. So nice of you to take time out of your busy schedule, your most valuable asset, your time, to share and spread the love. And is that your actual background? It kind of looks like where you are.
That's right behind my computer. This is a green screen behind me, but that's my view behind the computer. That is it. I'm
Wow.
coming to you from St. Thomas, United States Virgin Islands. I moved here a year ago this month, so I will say island life isn't for everybody, but I'm really digging it. It's kind of, I call it kind of like detaching from the matrix, unplugging from the matrix. There's only like 50,000 people on the island that live here, and so it's small town living. And it's not for everybody, but I'm digging it as my new home base. So
Love
thank you
it.
for that beautiful introduction. I'm excited to be here on The Real Deal. And yes, one of my nicknames was The Real Deal Tom Beal back in the Marine Corps and other things. That
I
was
I believe that.
perfect.
Yes, thank you for
Synchronicity.
your service. Amen.
Yep, my
So
pleasure.
so let's dive in. You started out sharing, your move just out of curiosity. What inspired the move, and was it experimental at the beginning, and then you've stayed longer than you thought? Did you have a plan, or what was the mindset going into that?
It was to figure it out one day at a time. So it basically was inspired by my amazing companion of 12 years and I decided to have a conversation. Should we stay together or part ways? And we talked about it for months and decided to part ways. And she's like, "Well, you don't have a plan." I'm like, "Well, my plan is to figure it out. Like I'll figure it out as it goes." So it was impromptu. And in essence, I called up my sister. We didn't tell anybody that we were having those conversations. And I called my sister and said, "Hey, if I came to visit you in St. Thomas, would I stay at your house or would I stay at your rental property, which has been booked for over 10 years? It's very rarely available." And she's like, "Actually, the rental property is available, so you could stay there." I said, "Well, not anymore. I'll be renting it." So it was kind of serendipitous, just
Wow.
go with the flow. And I have other friends that own properties around the world. And my next call was going to be to David Kavanaugh, a good friend who owns property in Thailand, if this wasn't available. So it just happened to be God made this available, and that's exactly where I was supposed to be for this past year to figure, this next chapter, right? After 12 years and amicably, I wish her
Hmm.
nothing but the best. She wishes me nothing but the best, but figuring out what the next chapter is. So it was a good regrounding experience. And it's not like I moved here on my own. I have my two sisters, my brother-in-law, and my two nephews here as well. So it's kind of, I plugged into this small community already knowing through my sisters and friends, a good portion of the movers and shakers here. So I kind of plugged right in instead of coming here by myself, right? So it's an interesting dynamic that unfolded perfectly as life has done for me. I guess it's like, you know what? My plan is to discern with the information I have in this moment, what are my options? What do I feel is the best choice for me? And so just taking it, being present is
Hmm.
very important. And in being present, it all unfolded perfectly, as it always does.
So were you always this present
Mhm.
and able to just make your discerned decisions through that strategy, or is this also a byproduct of your near death experience? And obviously we want to learn about that and
Sure.
how that impacted you.
It begins in my childhood, to be honest. I was born to teenagers, raised around, my mother was 17, my father was 19 when I was born. So teenagers were my parents. And I was raised around a lot of chaos and adversity. So as teenagers, I grew up around 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my two parents as a child. And also went to 9 different schools by 8th grade in upstate New York and in the country of North Carolina. So always chaotic. And I've spoken at churches, I've spoken in front of children, and said, hey, who here has gone to a lot of schools, talking to fifth graders and things like this. Like
Mm.
I said, I went to 9 schools by 8th grade, and there's kids in the audience that were like, I've been to more than that. Like, so I said, look, you kind of
Wow.
have an advantage because you growing up with all the chaos and all the adversity, at first you may feel, why me? Why is this happening to me? But it actually is a strength. It's a superpower for you when you grow old, because I learned when I went to college that, to me, people are flipping out over things that are, in my opinion, minuscule problems,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, this is nothing. Like what I grew up with was the big problems, and this is nothing. And people are bugging out. So I realized those experiences I learned as a child, I wouldn't want to wish on anybody, but it helped me um, be a great problem solver and stay cool, calm, and collected during stressful situations where other people are completely losing their mind and bugging out. So there's kind of that childhood thing. And then, and I will say there was a lot of anger in my experiences. So I had to learn to control that. I call it the Incredible Hulk, right? You won't
Hmm.
like me when I'm angry, right?
Right.
So, I mean, growing up, I had, adrenal flight or flight was a common thing. Like, there were fights with my parents, my step parents, and all this stuff. There was a lot of chaos. And so I had to learn to handle my own emotions. And I was a late bloomer, and I was a late bloomer in even realizing I can handle my emotions. But I now came up with a system. When I feel my emotions starting to rise, I take 2 of the 4 agreements from the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and I say, oh, what am I taking personally, or what am I making an assumption on? Because I
Mm.
find my emotions start to get activated when I'm taking something personally or making an assumption. So I built this, it's kind of like working out. So when I feel my emotions rising, so I must be making an assumption or taking something personally. What is that? And then I'll just clarify it, say, and just converse about it versus let those emotions build up and then say or do something that I'll later feel was not the best representation of who I am. And this is from saying and doing a lot of stupid stuff over my life at 51 years old. Like I've set some records of saying and doing stuff. And I actually saw a meme that is quite funny and pertinent to me. I never make the same mistake twice. Usually it's 7 or 8 times before I finally figure it out. I got a hard head, right?
Yeah.
It takes me like, you didn't figure this
Well,
out yet?
does
Yeah.
it still?
I've gotten better. I've gotten better and have built a lot of emotional groundedness. Like I just did a webinar earlier this morning. I said, what if your financial journey is directly correlated to your emotional journey?
Hmm.
The less other people can say and do things that impact your emotions, the more you become grounded, and the more that you become that emotional mature individual, the more the happiness, the more the joy, the more the opportunities, the more easy it is for you to be in the present moment, which is where your power is. You're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're being, for the most part of your time, the best representation of who you are and what you stand for, and that embodiment of love, in essence. When we're taking things personally, when we're making assumptions, we can be triggered to those times we've been hurt in the past, and then that fight or flight kicks in, and that's when we can say or do stupid things. But I have, from saying and doing a lot of stupid things over my 51 years, become much better at uh, being more present and not taking things personally or not making assumptions. I still do, right? But I have
Well,
that
you're human.
process
Yeah.
that works through it. Like I still have those triggers that, like it fires me up for a second. And then I'm like, basically the bottom line is it's not life and death. We give labels of importance to certain things. And in the reality, it's all fairly not as important as we think it is. And in the real
Yeah.
scheme of things, 100 years from now, it's absolutely meaningless. 100 years from now, no one is going to even remember. Like we don't remember the Titans of 100 years ago, the ones who changed the reality that we live in. Most people don't know who those Titans were 100 years ago, who made the huge impacts in the world. And so no one's going to remember me 100 years from now. And I'm okay with that. Like I have no goal. Like people need to remember me 100 years from now. Like, it's how human nature unfolds.
Right. And so how often have you had that happen? I was just having a conversation with a client yesterday about this, that, 99% of the time, what we're afraid is going to happen doesn't happen. The story we tell, right? That assumption, that story that would help us or make us take something personally.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had, though, a situation where your assumption was accurate? and you didn't, and but you talked yourself out of it, like, okay, I'm not
Right.
gonna go down there, and then go, oh no, it was that.
Yeah. Well, I believe, and as I reflect on that question just posed, that we are living in a self-fulfilling reality. Like
Hmm.
what we believe and what we focus on becomes our reality. So that's for the good and for the bad. If we're focused on the bad, ironically, that's what's going to become the reality. Like what
Hmm.
we give our focus and attention to becomes the reality we experience, mainly because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what I've found and what I'm training myself to do is focus on what I want. What do I want? I want peace. I want happiness. I want joy. I want love to spread. I want to help others. I'm a great problem solver. I love connecting the dots for people. I'm very good at certain things. I'm very not so good at other things, but I like to stay in that present moment. And when I'm clear on what I want, if I find myself focusing on something I don't want, I give a quick reminder, whoa, whoa, that's what I don't want. If I keep
Right.
focusing on that's going to become reality. What do I want? And then I also have trained myself to realize that it is a conspiracy. There is a conspiracy going on to turn my dreams into reality, to turn what I want into my reality. The universe wants my dreams as much as I do. And the more I focus on them, the more I trust. I don't know what the whole twist and turns are. I don't know the entire path, but I do know with confidence what's mine to do now. And that's all that matters. It's a continual uh, iteration of what's mine to do now. The way I like to explain this to people is a trip to the amusement park. And I'll even say the trip to a cruise. Like you and I have been on a
Hmm.
cruise together. And at the very beginning of the cruise, I get up on stage and tell people, listen, you got your bags tonight, right? Yeah. You unpacked. Before you know it, we're going to be having the final day. It's an 8-day cruise. It's going to be the evening of the seventh evening, and we'll be packing up to leave. So make sure you seize every moment. And sure enough, it goes very fast. So I
Hmm.
like to say it's like a trip to the amusement park. This human experience is a trip to the most amazing amusement park in the universe. I've had some people challenge me on that. How do you know? Let's just say what if? What if this is the most amazing amusement park in the
How do
universe?
you know it's not?
Correct. How do you know it's not? Right. So I choose to think that what if it is the most amazing
Hmm.
amusement park in the universe? So guess what? When me and my family or friends go to amusement park, we're there to maximize our joy, whether they're for a day, 2 days, or a week. And we also going in know that it's going to be over before you know it. So the key is to create as many memorable moments as possible to have the most joyous experience possible at that amusement park. And it's happened so many times. That cruise we were on, it's almost, I don't even know, 4 months ago already. Like it's just
Hmm.
how quickly that time goes by. So the years are going to go by, the decades are going to go by, God willing. And we also make the false assumption that we're even going to be here tomorrow. Like, don't forget, we have this false uh, we don't have a guarantee that we're going to finish today. Like, and it's not out of any fear whatsoever. And I'll touch on that, but actually I'll infuse that um, in a second. But back to the amusement park. When you're at the amusement park, at least what me and my family do, we're commiserating. Like, okay, what's the first ride we're going to ride? And guess what? A lot of times we'll come to a commonality, but there's sometimes where some people don't like what we've. So okay, great, we'll go to this ride. You guys go to that ride, and then we'll meet up later, right? But okay, this is the ride we're going on first. Then you ride the ride, and then afterwards, like, what's next? Do we ride it again, or we go to the next ride? It's always a what's next. And when you're
Hmm.
sitting around, you're not just watching the news or complaining about stuff. You're maximizing the joy, right? And when you eat, you're eating in we got to get back to the fun. So you eat, you have conversations, but you're not wasting time because the time's clicking. So that amusement park analogy is what I share with people. And then from my near death experience, which we'll dig into it, a couple of lessons that I learned is, and I have the belief, I won't be here a second longer than I'm supposed to be here. And I won't be here a second shorter than I'm supposed to be here. And I have peace with the death experience. I have been down, as you said, I was walking to the bright white light, said, stop, this isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish, send me back. I will tell you, it was a calling of like, I'm home. Like this was the most home,
Hmm.
peaceful setting I've ever experienced. So I know the best day of my life, and I'm hoping it's multiple decades away, will be when I transition to see that this was all a play. This was all a game. Right. And I've heard and I've studied a lot of stuff that have said, like, as you're exiting, you're like, oh, this is all just a game. This is all just a play. Like the world is a stage. Right. So the only reason I made that choice is because I saw my sisters who live here on the island with me at my funeral on September 11th, 1998, crying, and it hurt so badly. I said I didn't want to go home for the pain that I saw that my sisters and others had at my funeral, and I didn't want to
Hmm.
have that. So I made that statement, and I've done some research on it, and my oversoul and I pretty much knew it wasn't my time to go yet, right? Because when it's your time, it's your time. And even though that was the experience, it wasn't my time to go. So I'm here kind of like a second chance, and I'm hoping to flip a switch with people so they don't have to have the near-death experience to experience the peace of me going for it as if you're at the most amazing amusement park in the universe. And also recognizing I have a big S on my chest. I am immune to death until I'm not.
Hmm.
Think about that. Like, that's just a whole different way of living. I don't have fear. Now I have discernment. That doesn't mean I'm going to run off the balcony here and go 2 stories down. Like, I use my judgment properly to, and also trust my intuition. Have you ever been at a place where you just feel the energy's off? Like
Hmm.
something, I don't know what it is, but something doesn't feel right. Trust that intuition. That's the conspiracy. There's guides there with you that talk to us through our heart. And it took me a long time. I would push down and suppress the heart messages, and then
Is that
they'll tap
you would do that prior to
prior.
your?
Yeah,
Okay.
prior. I would push that down loud, ignore it, ignore it, ignore it. And then the bad stuff would happen. I'd be like, whoa, I should have listened like an hour ago when I felt that feeling. I should have left, right? So there's those intuitions that you become more in tune with, right? It's pretty amazing. But anyhow, I have no fear. And I know, and I just live my life. I am immune to death until I'm not. So I'm going to live before I die. And then one of the messages I teach is you are not dead, dot, dot, dot yet. Right. And that's what we're talking about here. You're also
Hmm.
not living up to your potential yet. Regardless, you and I have many friends that have done amazing things. We've done some amazing things, but I feel nobody in the history of humanity has even come close to tapping into the potential that we have as humans. So I don't care what you've done. And what I deal with a lot of people is they've done things like, hey, what do you do? Well, I started this company back and so, and then I end up selling it for $100 million. Great. What are you doing now? Like, they're the Al Bundy talking about throwing the 4 touchdowns in high school. And
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, you have this desire to be the joyous creator. That's in the past. Congratulations. But what are you doing now? Like, don't just be living in the past. So yeah, I sold the company, and like, and so we deal with people that get in their comfort zones and need to be reminded that it's that burning desire that gives them the most joy. Like, remember when you had that passion when you were building the company? Look at you now. Like, you're just drifting. Like, you're just going through the motions, and like you're dead, but you're getting buried, years later. Like,
Right.
and I just remind them, like, what's next? Like, I reinvigorate, give them a burning desire of what's next, because that's the drive that they had. Now they got all the money and the peace and whatever, but they, in many cases, they were workaholics in that process. So they might have fractured relationships with their wife, their spouse, their kids,
Hmm.
their business partners. Like, there's a lot of stuff that, in my opinion, the 3 most important things are your health, your relationships, and your finances. I call it my Trinity success method. And health is the basis, because there's that famous quote. If you haven't heard it, it's true. With health, you can have hundreds of goals, thousands of goals. Without health, you have one goal: to be healthy. And a lot of people
Yeah.
think health is just the reflection in the mirror. That's only one aspect. Health is mental, physical, emotional / spiritual health.
Hmm.
That's a triangle below the health: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. We have friends that are ripped that aren't the most emotionally secure
Yeah.
or spiritually secure, right? Like, so it's you need it all. Like, and you don't need anything, but it's nice to have it all, right? That's the
Well,
other
that's where
aspect.
the fulfillment comes in. So,
Correct. Yeah.
and oftentimes people who, to your point, if they were workaholics or they had spent so much time and energy, it became their identity.
Mhm.
And then when they sold it, they find sometimes themselves to be a bit lost because they lost their purpose,
Mhm.
and they've not hadn't had a time where they didn't have it.
Mhm.
They don't even know how to find it. So that's where, mentorship and coaching and being that outside perspective to bring in your personal stories and your perspective and to really connect on that level, to have someone dig deep and go,
Right.
to your point, reinvigorate, rejuvenate, go, ooh, I'm going to reinvent myself.
Correct. Yes, that's it. It's always think about the amusement park. What's next? Like, that's it. It's
Hmm.
a continual. Okay, great. Here's where we are. What's next? Like, when we're done with this, I'm gonna ask myself, and you're gonna ask yourself, what's next? Like, and it's a continual. What's next? And then I used to have the mistake, because workaholism is the only addiction that people brag about like it's a good thing.
Right.
Oh, I work 12 hours. Oh, you only work 12? I work 15 hours. Like, it's this
I'm doing
badge of
80-hour weeks. What do you
yeah, right,
mean?
right.
Yeah.
So it's ironically one of the most uh, well, it's an addiction. Just, and most addictions done in excess will spiral you into bad places. But
Hmm.
it's the addiction that most people brag about. So I was actually bragging back in 2001 to a friend of how hard I was working. And that actually transitioned into 2002. My son was born on 2/22/2002. He's now 22 years old. And I was sitting across a dude that used to work with Jim Rohn the same time that Tony Robbins worked with him. And he actually had a business with Tony years ago. And I was bragging on how hard I work. And this was in early 2002. And he's like, Tom, I can tell that you're looking for me to pat you on the back and say, good job. He's like, but I got some, it actually makes me sad. He's like, don't you have a new son? So it was like March or April of 2002. I said, yeah. He's like, and your son's mother is your wife, right? I said, yeah. With you working that much, how do you think that's going to turn out? And it's so clear, like now for us to look back, but in that moment, I was bragging and flexing how awesome I was at workaholism. And that was like a knife through my chest, a piercing knife, like, whoa. So he said, I got a challenge for you. He's like, you don't have to listen to me. He's like, I got a challenge for you. Get the same results in half the amount of time. And then he said, but you're working so much, that still wouldn't be impressive. That's still normal. Like half your time, because you're working like 80 hours a week, half your time is going to be a normal work week of 40. So then do it again. So that conversation planted seeds that led to me being the simplifier, led to me being the person who was like, how can I get the same results in half the amount of my time? By building a proper team, by building proper systems and processes and automations, right? And figuring out with clarity, you can actually do it. It all begins like Tony Robbins. I know you and I have worked with Tony a lot. Change happens in an instant. It's once that epiphany occurs, like that's it. Whether it's stop smoking, stop drinking, stop overworking, like I'm done. Like, and once you do that, now I started asking myself, how can I get the same results in half the amount of time? And at first, your mind fights back. That's impossible. You can't get, okay, well, what if it were possible? The what if bridges the gap between it can't be done to, well, what if it is possible? And that opens your mind to start thinking some ideas. And so I was able to do that again and again and again. And I still get great results, but I work, like my work is joy. Like I get paid nicely and compensated nicely to be who I am and do what I do. And I work with only people that I enjoy working with. I have a rule that if a client's calling me, I'm like, oh, cool. Like it has to be that. Like if I look at a phone and more than once, I'm like, oh crap, I got to talk to this person. It's done, right? It's done. Like, so I work with people that I love. Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
Personally and professionally, 100%. Yeah. And that was a long haul for me too, to realize there's some family members and friends that are just poisonous. And there's some that are amazing, right? And not everybody deserves your equal attention. And it took me a long time as being that child who was raised around 4 divorces and 6 marriages. It took me a long time to get over the, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Am I lovable? Those 3 things that I think I learned from Tony are the 3 inner core questions that humans have. And guess what? When I had all those experiences in and out of households, they love you until you're out, and now you're gone, right? So I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough was a thought I had as a child, which actually led me to be a top athlete. I was a number one. I was a national bicycle champion in bicycle freestyle back in 1989 as a teenager. I was a top wrestler, top athlete in all the sports that I did. And then ended up becoming the number 1 honor man out of the United States Marine Corps boot camp, number 1 in 5 sales organizations. And so that look at me, am I good enough? Am I lovable now? Ended up turning out to be a positive, but it was negatively, it was a negative belief that led to those positive outcomes. The reason I was the number 1 and gave my all at that level was, look at me. Am I good enough now? Am I lovable now? Am I worthy now? And it worked out.
When were you doing that for a particular person? Like who was?
Yeah, my parents, my father mostly, right? Because I lived with my mom, and she was great. She gave me support at all the stuff, but she did move me from New York to North Carolina, which removed me from my dad. So my dad was just a phone call every couple months. But then when we moved back to New York, he would rarely show up for my bicycle stuff. Like we did shows a lot, stuff like that. So I'd be out there performing and looking for him and wouldn't see him. He wouldn't show up for a lot of the other sports. He showed up for wrestling, and he was there for wrestling, but it was more of like, am I good enough? Am I lovable? Am I worthy? Seeking that for my dad and others, and also being the new kid in all those different schools, nine schools by 8th grade. Like I was like, that was a subconscious desire as well to be like.
And with all of that, I know we've discussed this. Did that help you with your communication skills, having to build rapport quickly in every? And were you also, you had shared about the anger issues. would you, when you were showing up, were you the angry young kid? And
I
so you
was the
weren't getting
most
into fights. You weren't like,
I was the most nice, humble kid, like just the
okay,
most.
yeah.
I was the my junior my freshman year of high school. I won the citizenship award. I was just the nicest, help everybody type of person, and that's kind of still who I am.
Yep.
But I've learned to build some boundaries around that. But I was just the nicest person, and in certain situations, I'd be getting bullied. And the teacher, I remember a third grade teacher because we moved from upstate New York to Harmony, North Carolina, which is outside of Statesville, and went from upstate New York to Harmony. I was now the minority in this school. And I'm wondering why I'm not just playing and these kids are pushing me over. And the teacher saw this and she's like, it's not anything, like they're just not knowing how to interact and deal with you. Cause she could saw the confusion in my face. Like, why?
Mm.
I'm just playing. Like, why am I getting bullied and pushed over and all like and picked on and stuff? Like, so she had to explain it to me,
And
but
how old are you then?
I was in third grade. So that's
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, 8, 9 years old. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
So with your, well, let's, can you share what your near death experience was? Because it's a great teaser. Like, oh no, this NDE near death experience and the impact that it had. I'm sure that as people heard that, like, well, what happened? Like, what was that? And you were unable to. You're told you weren't going to walk or talk. So what happened?
It was a single car accident in upstate New York. I got home and I got a call from an ex-girlfriend that she's at a club. Meet me there. And I
And how
jumped
old
in
were
my
you?
car. I was 25. Yeah, 25. 98. Yep, about 25, about to turn. It was September 11th, 98. I was 25, about to turn 26. And so jumped in my car, going too fast on country roads. And with the country road, there was no shoulder on the side of the road. So around a curve, I got off there was no shoulder, so I got into gravel, spun sideways, caught traction, shot over into a field, rolled 4 times, ejected from the sunroof. And all I remember is heading towards that embankment because there was an embankment in the field. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And then I woke up and I'm laying in the field and I tried standing up. I couldn't stand up and I'm just laying there. And what I didn't know was when the car rolled, the battery fell out and it was in the middle of a field. So my stepbrother ended up working at the that was in Geneva, New York, worked at the fire department, and he found out later that there was a house near the end of that field that heard all this crash. They were in bed. It was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, something like that. They were in bed, and he got up and looked out the window, and he didn't see anything. They went back to bed, and I guess I laid there for like an hour and a half because he finally got up like an hour later. Like something happened. I don't know what it is. He just called 911 and said something happened. I don't know. I can't see anything. But so they sent the fire trucks, they sent the police and all that stuff. And I was in bad shape. So they got a helicopter. A helicopter came and helicopter lifted me from there to University of Rochester Medical Center. And all I remember is laying there and thinking like, man, someone's got to be here soon. And then soon just expanded to eternity. Like I just laid there for a while. And then next thing you know, I see someone laying in the field and I'm confused. And I focus in, I see that it's me. Now I'm pulled up and it's all bright white light. And I have confusion, I have worry. I'm like, what's going on? And then I see my sisters crying at my funeral. And then something or someone came up and put their arm around me and it instantly turned to peace. Like I just knew this was home. Like this was welcome home. Like just the most warm, welcome feeling ever. And all that fear and worry went away. And we turned, even though it was all bright white light, we turned 180 degrees. Now these huge doors are open and we start walking towards the door. And that's when I said, stop, this isn't how it's supposed to end. I know you had more for me to accomplish, send me back. I woke up in intensive care with a respirator breathing for me. The only thing I remember then is it hurts really bad to be conscious with a respirator breathing for you. And they got that out. And then I had severe head trauma, which since I've seen like cause of death from car accidents, a lot of times are severe head trauma. So at first I was like, oh, okay, it's no big deal, but severe head trauma. And then I had nerve damage in my right leg. And so I learned what aphasia was. I didn't know what aphasia was until I had it. And aphasia is when you're thinking something to say, but random words come out of your mouth.
Right.
And I was thinking it and I would say it and I knew the random words came out. Like that didn't make sense. So I tried again, more random words would come out and it would get frustrating. So I explained that to some nurses and like, she's like, I can tell the people who have that are getting frustrated. Now it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I finally, after I realized after like 3, 4 times, like apparently my brain isn't working because it's not saying what I'm trying to
Right.
say. So I
It
just
happens
stopped.
to stroke victims a
All
lot
right.
too. Yeah.
And I just stopped trying after a while. Like then they would tell me, look, with the damage he has, the severe head trauma and the nerve damage in his leg, he may not walk or talk properly. He may, and I would just shake my head no. Like I couldn't speak, but I would just shake my head no. I didn't see that as my vision. I saw myself walking and talking, getting
Hmm.
back to normal as quickly as possible. So within a few days, I was walking with an old person walker. My leg was dragging, had drop foot. I don't know if everyone's ever seen that with a leg that drags. That was my right leg,
Hmm.
is drop foot. And uh, I was starting to talk. The aphasia, the brain swelling went down. I was starting to talk. And then I signed a whole stack of early release papers against doctor's orders because I didn't want to keep hearing that I may not walk or talk properly
Right.
again. Signed myself out and have since gone on to win wrestling tournaments after that and speak on stages around the world and
You were
had two.
still wrestling at 25?
Yeah, after the Marine Corps, I got back and got plugged into my old high school. I started help coaching that and doing some wrestling tournaments.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I just did a wrestling tournament 2 years ago with Russell Brunson out in Vegas. At 49 years old, I did a wrestling tournament.
Oh,
My
how
first,
cool. How'd you do?
I held my own, but I was not mat. I hadn't been on the mat in 25 years, so it was.
Did you train?
I ran. I didn't have a mat to train on, so I just showed up. And Russell's like, "Dude, you're crazy. You didn't train at all." I said, "I had no mats." I was like, "So I ran. I had my wind up, so I held my own." But and then Russell also told me, he's like, "Ah, yeah, you can just show up." He's like, "You'll see beer bellies, and you'll see, just dad bods." And I showed
Hmm.
up, and we're at weigh-ins. I said, "Russell, look around. I don't see one beer belly or dad bod
Oh,
in
no.
here. This is a serious competition." And he's like, "Yeah, it's gotten a little more serious over the years." I said, "Man." So I just showed up at my normal weight. Russell sucked from 200 pounds down to my weight. I weigh
Wow.
165. So I had people that I'm wrestling that normally are 190 to 200 pounds, and I'm 165. I just showed up at my normal weight. So it looked like
Wow.
I'm a weight class below.
Right.
Had I known it was that competitive, I would have went down to the weight class below. But still, I held my own. But it was a fun experience that I'm done with. I hung the
Right.
shoes up after 49. I was like, that's it. I'm done. Russell's like, come on, you can come on out in Boise. I still might go out and wrestle Russell, but we'll see.
Have you ever wrestled him before?
Mhm. In a hotel room back in '06, I beat his butt. But he has a mat in his backyard, so he's been
Oh, so you're
practicing a lot. So
practicing. Okay.
so now he'd probably own me now, but back in '06, I owned him at that one hotel room. Yep.
Right on. Well, I know Russell's spiritual. What was your relationship spiritually prior to your experience, and then did that have an impact in your connection to a higher power or God or whatever language you use?
I was very curious. In the Marine Corps, in boot camp, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior in boot camp. And
Uh-huh.
I say it was kind of a by duress. Like I'm in boot camp and I'm
Like,
going to church and I'm like, I need help. Like, help. Like
right.
I accepted Jesus by duress and it was perfect. Like it was good. So I grew up curious. I wasn't a biblical family growing up. We'd go to church on occasion. My mom started to go to church later on. And so I'd go occasionally, but it wasn't super spiritual, but I was seeking. So in the Marine Corps, I read a lot of books. I read some Edgar Casey, the Sleeping Prophet type of books.
Hmm.
I started to get into Dan Millman books, a whole bunch of spiritual stuff. I got into the Bible. I got into going to church in the Marine Corps. So it's been a wide, diverse uh, path of being curious, right? So I'm curious, and I'm always wanting answers. I'm always seeking, and I'm always finding, right? Seek and you shall find. So I've been
Hmm.
seeking answers, and I found a level of peace that I don't label. Like I love Jesus. I love all of the amazing teachers, but I don't have labels. My belief is all of the beliefs out there plus one. There's another one being born right now, another new belief. That's great. Whatever makes that person have that level of peace that isn't hurting other people, right? As long as, and it's one of my statements is I am me, F you. I am me fully and unapologetically. And I think like I live that. Basically that means I'm me fully and unapologetically. I want you to be you fully and unapologetically. As long as you're not hurting anybody, be you. Do you. And I'm gonna do me. Don't be trying to tell me what to do, and I'm not gonna be trying to tell you what to do. Just
Right.
do you. We find in society a lot of people want to get into other people's business. A lot of people want to try to control what other people are doing. And That's kind of I am me, F you would solve a lot of problems if people lived that philosophy, right? And
Y-
that's kind of, yeah, that's just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's an NLP presupposition, right? It's the person's model of the world, right? And we
right.
don't if we try and impose our model on someone else's world, it's the pieces won't fit. It's just it's
Correct.
not. And the best thing we could do for for all of us is to allow that space for someone to be themselves. My hallucination is then with your coaching, that's also part of what you work with on your clients is for them to have that same experience where I like to say celebrate what works and then add what's missing. So
Mhm.
rather than have them be aware of what their model of the world is and be okay with it.
Right. Correct. Yep.
And what kind of resistance have you received in that from other people? Because sometimes that's doing a paradigm shift of that identity and like that permission
Right.
to be, because the fear behind all of that is, well, if I do that, then I won't be accepted. Someone's not going to love me. It's going to be
Correct.
weird. Someone's going to go, "What's wrong with you? You're that weird kid," right? Or triggering us those thoughts from when we were kids, which is ultimately what we're all sort of battling, right? The
Hmm.
old experiences, our old model of the world as we develop.
Hmm.
So what has been your experience with that with high performers in particular? Because it's a different breed. They have a whole other mindset.
Yep, it is. Um, so when people work with me, I have them go through what I call a success intake form. It's a whole bunch of questions I put together that in essence would save us a couple hours of getting to know each other. Like
Hmm.
going through that, like now I'll have an understanding of where you are personally and professionally and where you're looking to go and what your framework of the world is type of thing. So and I tell people like when you complete that, you're going to have some epiphanies because you're gonna be, you're gonna be asking yourself questions that you most likely haven't asked yourself in a long time or ever, right? And your life is a direct reflection of the questions you're asking. So this will be some epiphanies that are created in that. And so here's what I found. I've had a couple people, well, I'm so busy, I'm so great, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, okay, great. Then we're not going to work together. What do you mean? Like, because that's step number one. And if you aren't going to take step number one, it'd be foolish for me to think you're going to take step number two. So right away, them taking that, which takes about 20 minutes. So they're investing
No,
20
it's not
minutes.
even
And
that. Yeah, it's not.
right. It's a hoop for them to jump through, but it's a
Yeah.
hoop that clarifies for me how open they are.
Hmm.
Right. And if they're not open, that closes the door right away, and that's perfect, right? And so that is the premise. And then from there, we do have some chats, and then we gain some clarity on what the biggest topics are. But one of the things that I help people do, which I found is not only very healthy for them to experience, but it also kind of breaks them out of the matrix, is a 3-day apple fast. And this is what I learned from Edgar Casey. And the 3-day apple fast sounds so off topic based on what you said, but it also, like, step one was they complete the success intake form. Step two, how open are they to giving the 3-day apple fast a go? And the experience is mind shattering, like framework shattering. You literally unplug from the matrix, and it's healthy because it detoxifies your body. And all you do is drink water and eat organic apples for 3 days. Whenever you feel hungry, eat an apple. There's no limit. Whenever you feel hungry, eat an organic apple. And there's a reason that it's apples and nothing else, because the pectin has some attributes that help cleanse out all the toxins in your body. And the first day or two, depending if they drink a lot of soda or a lot of coffee or anything like that, it might have a little headache or whatever. But I explain this to them, I prep them, and then day two, they feel like, whoa, this is amazing. Like day three, it's like, whoa, I want to like continue longer, right? And the other aspect is what I've found, and I've done this since 1993 when I first was exposed to it. So I've done it hundreds of times over the years, is I'll still find myself at the cupboard or refrigerator looking for food when I know I'm not eating, right? And so my
Mm.
mind is like, aha, what am I avoiding? Right. So we're trained to eat to fuel our $1 trillion bodies out of habit, out of routine, out of social settings, out of procrastination, out of anxiety, out of emotions, not to fuel our $1 trillion body, right? Or it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner. Oh, I would do this thing in work, but it's lunchtime, right? Oh, I'll go avoid what's mine to do
Yeah.
to eat, which the whole, we've seen the things with the pharmaceutical industry. We know the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the food industrial complex is one to dig into as well. They want us eating like cows all day. They're crap. They're
Hmm.
processed crap. That's their goal. And that's why they got the billions of dollars in marketing out there to make you see it on the car, you see people eating while they're driving, eating,
I I saw a post. Have you ever watched the Food That Created America?
I haven't seen
Poster.
that one. Mhm.
It's amazing. It's like the cars that built America, the men that built America. It's on the History Channel,
Mhm.
and you know how Kellogg's and you know,
Mhm.
basically they created breakfast as you know
Right,
they kind of made it up, but it turns out that it was actually like pig food.
right.
It was just
Yeah,
the grains,
right,
and they basically put a lot of colors on the box, put a mascot on it, and then told
right.
kids like, "Oh, this is the most important meal of the day." And then next thing you know, they just created a whole new revenue source.
Correct. Yeah, it's all marketing, and you see, once you see through that, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz when the curtains pulled,
Hmm.
you see the old man behind it. It's like it's all a game. It's all there to have the marketing and brainwashing impact. So as you age, the way that I call this, it's kind of like you wake up to. I remember being a child and finally figuring out that Santa wasn't real, and also and being pretty pissed at my parents and all my
How
family
old are you?
members.
Do you remember?
I was like 9 years old. I was late. Yeah, I was like 9 years old, and like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you've been lying to me the whole time, and the whole world's been lying to me. Like everybody's in on this. Like so, when you have these type of awakenings, you realize all the things that you thought were true, your paradigm of the world. You start seeing the cracks, and
Hmm.
you start seeing the green screen pulled back, and like, wait a minute, it's all a lie. It's all manipulation. It's all propaganda, and that's it's. I call it the grown-ups version of Santa's not real. Like
Hmm.
for me as a Marine, it was the realization that Uncle Sam is not the uncle that I thought he was. Like that's like, and those veterans know what I'm talking about. I have a lot of veteran friends, and we all were duped from decades and multi-generational propaganda to think that's the thing to do if you love your country, to go become this mercenary for the corporations and the governments, which are the biggest criminal organizations in the world. And that's, once you have that epiphany, like, holy crap, it's multi-generational propaganda, and it's not just those complexes, it's all around. Like the Truman Show starts to fall apart, right? Wait a
Yeah.
second. Yeah. Who
Well,
else is in on this?
and that's so funny. Here we are with our green screens, our virtual backgrounds, and
Yeah.
like through the in the Matrix right now. This is
Yep.
actually in the Matrix,
Correct.
and yet we figure out a way how to navigate it and still be present. And it's it's a hammer, right? The hammer could be used to kill somebody, or it could be
Yep.
used to build a home.
Correct.
So that to represent ourselves to what you had started sharing earlier about what we focus on, right? It's a perfect example of that. We
Correct.
can use this technology to enhance our relationships or become a crutch.
Correct.
And we need to catch ourselves when we do it,
Yep.
because we're all going to be guilty of it. It's going to happen. Just like you shared, you're on the fast that you're still looking in your cupboard,
Yep.
kind of going,
Yep.
okay, what
Exactly.
could, oh, it's just habit.
Yep. Yep.
So from a habit perspective, what habits or patterns do you now have to keep you operating at a high level?
Mhm.
And what are some that you had that you, in retrospect, realize, or think some things that you stopped? You realize, oh, you know what? That wasn't serving me. So I replaced it with a new one.
Right. And I will share that in a second, but I also want to reflect. So in that 3-day Apple fast,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
that small thing, many of my clients are super successful, but a little overweight, right? So they were excited to try it for the weight loss. Yet what they discovered is some of them lost 60, 80 pounds, like that transformed their whole health. They're like, they became healthier, happier, more vibrant people. But it also gave them back control of their focus. Like they didn't have to do things out of habit, out of
Hmm.
routines, out of social settings. They were able to make choices. Just because it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, if you're not hungry, you don't go fill your fuel up in your car if it's on full, right? I mean, just
Right.
just like it's just crazy. Like so, that's one aspect. And then going back to the habits and routines that I have now, sleep is super important. Like a lot of people also brag about how little they sleep. Well, that's something that is a interesting thing to brag about. Like when you're able to get a solid 8 hours of sleep on a regular schedule, there's superpowers that come with that, right? I mean, there's some gentlemen out there that um, is super successful, and he's like the ultimate biohacker, and he's like, the one thing that I will not deviate from is my sleep routine. Like
Mm.
that's it. Like I don't care what's happening, like I sleep. So neglecting and saying, oh, maybe I should go to that, like, or maybe I shouldn't, like making sure that you have your sleep blocked out as vitally important. And actually one of the things I learned from Mark Ford was, he's got some great books out there. One of them is how to live like a billionaire on a mid income. Like he's like, a lot of people think the car is the most important thing to get, or, brag about the car. He's like, the most important thing you want is a really good bed, because you're spending 1/3 of your life in that thing. And if it's a poor quality bed that gives you poor sleep, replace that with a nice one. And so
Hmm.
that was an epiphany for me, because I was like, so I got a Tempur-Pedic years ago, and I was like, man, this thing's amazing. But I was going to not get one because they're expensive, right? And then I was like, well, why wouldn't I? If I'm spending 1/3 of my life in this thing, why
Right.
wouldn't I invest in that? So now I have Uller coolers. There's this Uller thing that you put over the bed, and it's two little coolers that go under. They're full of water, and you turn them on. You can adjust the temperature. So I have this Uller mattress, Uller sheet that goes over, that I can have it cool or hot. I mean, I usually keep it cool. I sleep better when it's like 60 degrees or 63 degrees. But you invest in that area where you're going to be sleeping and spending roughly 1/3 of your life. So anyhow, that's one of the big things. And then just I like to give the analogy. I'm here in, as you can see, beautiful St. Thomas. There's multi-hundred-million-dollar yachts and $500 million yachts that come up around here. Jeff Bezos's $500 million yacht was here for a long time, and then so was the music mogul Geffen, David Geffen's half
Hmm.
a billion dollar yacht. They were both next to each other. I took a selfie. There's $1 billion in these two yachts behind me, and I tell people, I said, you can rent you can't rent those two, but you can rent a lot of the yachts that are there for, $250,000 a week, 125,000 a week plus expenses, depending on the size and all this.
Hmm.
Those bigger ones, they'd be, $1 million a week. If you had, anyhow, you can rent yachts, you can rent planes, you can rent helicopters, you can rent nice homes. You can't rent this vehicle. If a dead billionaire could rent this vehicle, your most amazing vehicle in the universe, how much would that billionaire who's dead pay? The answer is all. If Steve Jobs
Right.
could rent my body, your body, anybody's body watching this, how much? All. $60+ billion for one day, if it were possible, right? But it's not possible. This is the most amazing vehicle in the universe. And if you think about it, self-healing, it's amazing. Yet we treat our cars nice. If you have a boat, you treat your boat nice. You treat your house nice, but you treat this like shit. Like what? How
Yeah.
can you do that? Like, feed it the good stuff. Water is the premium fuel for your multi-trillion-dollar vehicle. And so treat your vehicle with the same respect that you would treat your car or your boat or your plane. And guess what? People that have boats and planes, they're not out there doing it all. Guess what? They have teams of people to help them keep that vehicle running and
Yeah.
operating at the epitome levels. Similarly, all high achievers that bring a team of people to help them run at optimal levels. Like, they're not out there doing it solo. They're not cleaning the bathroom in the yacht. They got people that do that. They got the staff that they just show up, and the staff takes them where, similarly, who do you have helping you grow your most amazing mind, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual being, right? So surround yourself with that team. And so my routine is just to eat somewhat healthy. Like, I'm not a regimented, I don't eat this, I eat this, but I eat mostly healthy stuff. And I also on a 1 meal a day plan. So I generally
Oh,
eat 1 meal a day. I do have
is it
a
like
little.
intermittent fasting kind of thing, or?
Yeah, 1 meal a
Okay.
day. It's like intermittent fasting. And then I'll do a 3-day apple fast on a regular basis. Sometimes I'll do water only fast for 3 days, sometimes 5 days, sometimes more. 6 years ago, I just saw a video I did where I was on day 13 of no food at all. Like, so
Wow.
I've gone for weeks without food, just water only. So, and I wish, and I tell people, and if you're watching this and have done that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I wish there was a pill that could give you that amazing feeling of like 10 days into a fast. You just feel like you're tapping into something that's, you're at a very high vibration, and you're saving hours a day, which would be spent on where to eat, what to eat, cleaning
Hmm.
up afterwards, and sitting on the toilet. You're saving hours a day, which is the ultimate hack, because the only no one has more than 24 hours a day unless you do the fasting. And this is what my clients, they have that epiphany too. These are high achievers. They do the fasting and they're like, whoa, I have more clarity, I have more energy. Because the other thing is, um, it's like a computer. Computer programs have, some computer programs suck a lot of RAM, right? If you're running that program, the computer's going to be slow because that sucks a lot of RAM. The
Yep.
biggest RAM sucker for your vehicle is your digestion. And so when you're eating, overeating, all that stuff, your energy's low. So when you're not eating and you're eating more healthy, you have higher energy, and you're not spending as much time. Where are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? Cleaning up, sitting on the toilet. That saves hours a day. 2 hours a day is 10% extra of a day that you now have that other people don't, right? In 2 hours,
Yep.
if you really add it up, breakfast, lunch, dinner, most people eat, and snacking in between, it's probably more than 2 hours total of where are we going to go, driving there, or preparing it at home, all those different details, multiple hours per day. When you simplify that, you now have a little hack. Like you break the matrix. You got
Yep.
10% more of a day than most others do. And so a lot of my high performing clients are like, whoa, not only am I feeling healthier, have more energy, and I'm probably going to have more longevity because I'm treating my body properly. I'm getting way more done. And I have more time for the other important stuff because it's not all about work. The biggest mistake I made for a long time was believing that what's the best use of my time right now only could be a revenue producing activity.
Mm.
That's a workaholic mode, right? So
Yeah.
when I was spending time with my kids or my spouse or whatever, I was beating myself up. Like I should be doing a revenue producing activity. That's a work. You scratch that. So then you just trust your discernment of all the different hats you wear, personally and professionally. So you got your business, you got your husband or wife, your father, your mother role, whatever the roles are that you have, discern what's mine to do now. Just circling back to the greatest amusement park in the universe. Trust your kick butt problem solving abilities, trust your discernment. And sometimes what's mine to do now is close it all down and go spend time with my spouse, go spend time with my child, go for a family outing, go for a walk. Because remember, you have to have your self-care. Like we
Hmm.
talked about this being the most important vehicle. Just like in the airplane, when they say if the mask come down, put yours on first. Well, that applies in life. You got to take care of yourself first for others. If you're not properly taking care of yourself, you're neglecting your role and you're neglecting the ability of love and compassion you can have for those that you care about around you. Put your mask on first. Treat yourself with the proper importance. I am good enough. I am lovable. I am worthy. I deserve to treat myself right. So sometimes, like I love going on walks. I love going to the beach. Like take self-care, take care of yourself. And then other habits that I got rid of. So in essence, there's 4 questions. What do I need to start doing? Something I'm not doing that will 10x my results. What do I need to start doing? What do I need to do more of? Those are the 3 to 4 activities in your health, in your relationships, in your business that
Hmm.
can get you, that's the 20% that produce 80% of the results. Those are 3 to 4 things per area. What do I need to do more of? Schedule those into your calendar. What do I need to do less of? Those are the 80% of activities that only produce 20% of the results. They don't disappear, but when you do them, know that you're going to create a checklist so that in the future, when they need to get done, you don't have to be the one doing them.
Right.
Checklists, processes, automation, all that stuff. And then the 4th question is, what do I need to stop doing altogether? These are counter. These are holding you back from getting to where you want to be. And this is a big one that I share with people. This thing right here, one of the greatest tools, just like you said, a hammer. This thing, one of the most amazing tools, yet one of the biggest life suckers you'll ever find. This
Hmm.
will suck the life out of you. What do you mean, Tom? Suck the life out of you. 30 minutes daily of mindless swiping. And you watching this, I mindlessly swipe more than 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
30 minutes times 365. You do the math, comes out to 4.5 40-hour work weeks in a year. Think about that. And that 40-hour work week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. 4.5 40-hour work weeks with 30 minutes of mindless swiping. Your mind should be blown up right now because you know damn well you do more, exponentially more than 30 minutes. So let's just double it. An hour, which you know you do more than an hour. An hour a day of mindless swiping is 9 40-hour work weeks. 2 months in a week. 9 40-hour work weeks that's getting sucked away by this. Where could you invest in that? You could invest that in your health. You could invest that in your relationships. You could invest that in so many other areas. Don't let this suck your life away. Something to consider.
I don't know if you knew this, but it's in internet and social media. Addiction is in the DSM-5.
Wow. Right. It's
So
serious.
people actually go to treatment, behavioral health treatment for the addiction to the tools. And I mean, maybe we can go down a whole rabbit hole around what kids are exposed to and how
Right.
that's become. You think about for us, you and I are old enough to remember when we went out to dinner with our parents. We got crayons, right?
Yep. Exactly.
We
Yep.
weren't sitting there, on a video game or
Right.
having that. And it is definitely the stats are incredible on how much time is wasted on that.
And everybody's got their thing. So some people it's Facebook, some people it's dating apps, some people it's porn, some people it's gambling. It's an ongoing. Like when we
Hmm.
grew up, there was alcohol, drugs, and men or women, right? Those were the
Yep.
3 big addictions. And gambling. You could throw gambling in there. Now apps in themselves, like, so I've had super successful clients where something's not adding up. Like, listen, man, from our conversations and your commitments, something's happening that I'm unaware of. And he's like,
Right.
all right, I'm gonna tell you something I haven't told my wife. And I'm like, listen, I come from a non-judgmental space. I've seen
Yeah.
it all, been there, done it. And he's like, there's this game. And so, like, I was thinking he had a lover. I was thinking he had, something going on. There's this video game that was sucking his business was hurting, his marriage was hurting, his relationship with him, his kids were hurting, his relationship with himself in the mirror. He was disgusted with himself in the mirror because he would be addicted to this game, knowing
Hmm.
he's got work to do, and now he's still playing this game. I'm like, whoa, so you're like, and it's like you said, this is super serious. Like,
Hmm.
it's stealing the lives, all the different apps, the games, all this stuff, and it's up to you to take control and recognize that fourth question: what do I need to stop doing? There's certain things that are sucking a huge amount of your time. Time is your most precious and ever fleeting asset. Are you investing it or are you wasting it? And find those things that are wasting it and get real with yourself. Like, at the amusement park, would you be sitting around complaining about news? Is that what you're going to spend your day at the amusement park doing? Or are you going to be out experiencing it, giving it your all, having the most joyous experience possible? Well, implant that into your life. Stop wasting it. Stop complaining and all that nonsense. Invest it. Time is your most precious and ever fleeting asset.
Which brings us kind of almost full circle around the whole marketing thing, is that it's really also a marketing tool to get our most valuable asset, which is our attention, right? Our time and attention. And the algorithms are designed
Yep.
to go, oh, that's what you like? Oh, I'm going to give you more of that, right? And then this is the challenge for all of us. Like, now, so let's actually go down this road a little bit around marketing, and how do you use the very tool that could be the
You can
sucker
use
of
it.
energy.
You can use it for your absolute benefit, and it really fulfills the quote from Zig Ziglar. I was fortunate to spend time with before he passed, to thank him for all of his books, his audios, his
Hmm.
videos, a couple times. Anyhow, his quote is, "You can have everything in life you want. You simply help enough others get what they want." So this, for people that are watching this, my belief is this is an investment of their time. This is not a
Hmm.
waste of their time. So
Right.
congratulations if you're watching this. This is an example of how this tool can absolutely help get you from where you are to where you want to be. And when you recognize what we just talked about, how the companies are built to be addictive, to recognize that and ask yourself which ones are pulling your most precious, never fleeting asset of time. And then I will throw this in there. You'll like this one. If you look at the most successful billion and trillion dollar companies, what do they have in common? The more time they're able to steal, the higher they are on that rank. That's how
Mm.
valuable your time is. The more time they're able to steal from the masses, the more they're at that multi-billion, trillion-dollar level. Let that simmer in. So they're out there to steal your most precious and ever fleeting asset, and they're rewarded monetarily when they do that. So you being an entrepreneur, you being a marketer, hopefully embracing that quote from Zig Ziglar, you can have everything in life you want if you simply help enough others get what they want. Put valuable stuff out there that will help people. Hey, you're here and you want to get here. Congratulations. That's exactly how what I specialize in. That's exactly what you're going to be shared with here. So be someone who contributes that value. And the more you give, you can't outgive. The more you give, the more you will receive. Right now, you need to have the proper marketing in place to have the purchase buttons and have the irresistible opportunities and offers available. But when you get that more attention, you're just like those large companies. The more attention you can garner from the masses, and the masses don't have to be the masses like those big companies, but the masses meaning your target audience. Your target
Hmm.
audience is your target audience. You know who they are, where they are, and how big or small they are. You don't need a huge audience. You can have a small target audience that can produce life-changing results. But when you have that value that you contribute to that target audience, you're going to get their time, which is an investment of their time, which also rewards you because you'll have steps for them to dive deeper, right?
Well,
That's
and
really a
yeah,
nutshell.
what a great gift to give yourself is, if you're going to get addicted to anything, get addicted to helping others and adding value, and enjoy that process, and not well. So what now? If we could kind of take that framework a little bit, because I know you're a very giving and sharing person. What was the, or did you ever have the idea where you just kept giving and giving and giving, and from the self-worth thing, like, to make that transition into raising your rates and charging for what, on from a spiritual aspect, some may say, well, you've got, like, if you're going to help somebody, it's like the Hippocratic Oath. Like, do you not help someone, give them the advice that is going to give them the coaching, the mentorship that they need. What was that like for you getting into coaching and turning it into a monetized experience?
So in 2001, when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was fortunate to cross paths with and become friends with Jeffrey Gitomer, best-selling sales author of all times. And he plugged me into the National Speakers Association down there, and kind of helped be a mentor to me early in the days. And he basically said, Tom, if you keep giving that you're doing without charging people, A, you're doing them a disservice, and B, I'm going to smack you in the face. Like there needs to be a transaction here. So you need to draw that line, and here's what you give for free, and then here's how to engage as a client to give deeper value, right? Because the reality is people don't treat things that are free with the proper respect or value, right? And so you're doing them a disservice. If you're serious about getting them from here to there, then you can give them some free insights that will help with that. But if you want to dive deeper, get into my world, join this course, join this mentoring program, and that's going to expedite the journey. And guess what? I put out a really amazing deal, but I'm not. It's just natural. Like you can't. You're doing a disservice to your target audience if you don't have that purchase. And people want to. They want that. People love to buy. Like
Hmm.
people love to buy stuff, and they love to support the people that help them. Right. So the more you help them, the more they're going to want to help you. So just create those irresistible offers. Have the courage to just say, and so now we've reached that point where it's time for you to make a decision. Do we continue on this path, or are you good with the free stuff that you've already gained, right? If you want to continue, here's the path, and point them down that path.
Right on. And were there some failures that you had in the past that you learned from, that you look back and at the time you were like, oh, God, it's like it was the worst thing ever. And now you look back and go, man, had that not happened, had I not made that mistake, I don't know as I would have necessarily learned. And what did you learn?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a quote from Napoleon Hill: "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit." So looking back on my history, personally and professionally, those biggest mistakes or problems or challenges ended up being the biggest blessing in time.
Is
In
there
due
one that
time.
you recall that you had a particular profound impact?
Um, I learn from the lesson and kind of block out the bad. Like I don't revisit a bad movie, right? So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I still I still recall them, but I kind of just learn the lesson and move on. Like because I don't want what we give our attention to. So I learned the
Hmm.
lesson, and I kind of don't like to bring them back up unless necessary. So I probably could think about it, but nothing's coming to the top of my
Okay.
head right.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, I also ask. Wonder if there's ever any kind of like what you shared with the near death experience as a way to share with someone who's been through a similar thing. I
Yeah,
imagine that's when they do come up. We go, oh, okay, that
yeah,
reminds me of this time when,
big time. Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
oh yeah. That's actually one of the key. Like so, the whole thing in dealing with the clients, a lot of them think that they're dealing with something that's unique to them.
right.
Like, oh, this problem has only happened to me. I'm like, hey, actually, what you discussed is a common problem with everybody, like myself included. Like, yeah, we've had to learn those lessons. So that's a whole big awakening. Kind of like when I was a child, I thought I had the worst childhood ever, like with all the marriage problems and not as a child, my parents and all that, the chaos. And then I meet other families like, oh wow, there's different problems. Like there's different
Hmm.
problems, right? So everyone has problems, right? So I just trust my discernment and my problem solving abilities to assess the information that I have and stay present and like, okay, here's where we are, good, bad, indifferent. Here's not lying to myself. And it's just like when you order a GPS, and here in St. Thomas, they don't have Ubers or something like that. But in the States, you order Uber, it needs to know two things: where are you and where are you going? Which comes back to clarity. So when you're clear and you're not lying to yourself, well, here's where I am. See, a lot of people try to lie to themselves about where they truly are. And if you lie to
Mm.
the Uber driver and tell them you're at this store and you're not, they're going to show up and you're not going to be there, right? So
Uh,
if you're lying to yourself, we got to get over that, right? Is this really where you are? No, here's where you really are. Embrace the mess ups, embrace the pain, embrace the feelings of failure, feelings, all the different labels you put on it. This is where you are: good, bad, indifferent, whatever label you want to put on it. Here's where you are. Where are we going from here? Right. And it's literally just like in the Marine Corps: improvise, adapt, and overcome. Those are three like key words that plans always fall apart when it meets the real world. You can plan, 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 and then when you execute, immediately the plans go out the window. Like think of the movie or the TV show, The A-Team. At the end, he lights a cigar. I love it when a plan comes together. They got this real elaborate plan, and immediately it's out the window. And then at the end, I love it when a plan comes together. That's life, ladies and
The
gentlemen.
irony. Yeah,
That's
totally.
life. The plans are never going to go to plan. So don't overplan. Literally at this pace. Stop, think, act. At that pace. Stop, think, act. Where am I? In the amusement park. Where am I going? Like it's continually just circle back to the amusement park analogy. Okay, here's where I am. I want to go on this ride. I don't know where that ride is. I'll ask this person, hey, how do I get to this ride? Okay, they're going to tell you this long, elaborate twist and turn. You only remember the first couple pieces. You turn left, you turn right, then you find someone else. Hey, how do you get to
Right.
this?
Yeah.
Just what's next? Like just keep moving. Like don't wait. Well, did you say right? Did you say left? Just hear the whole thing and like, all right, left, right. That's it. And then get to the next spot. And then, okay, who do I ask now? Like, and just trust one step at a time, it all unfolds. And there's a level of trust that I have from my experience that I truly believe what my mom told me as a child, anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish. Right. It's like, so it's like, are you worried when the GPS tells you, here's where you are, here's where you got to go? Do you like, oh shit, I wonder if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I can make it. Like driving, like if you're driving, like, are you scared? Or are you just like, no, I'm going to get there. Like, just stop worrying. Just go, just get out there and go.
Yeah. Well, I love the GPS example as well, because in life, there's going to be a detour. There's going to be a road closed, right? And the GPS doesn't go, oh, that's it. It's never going to work for me. Right.
I'm going home. I'm going back home. Right. You don't just throw the towel in. Exactly. And that's why I say with the amusement park analogy, sometimes you get excited and you're going to that next ride and you get there. Sorry, folks, the ride's closed. Shit. You don't sit down and cry and that's it. We're done. We're throwing it. Yeah. Like, all right, you got two options. You can wait here. Maybe it'll get fixed. Maybe it won't. Or what's next? Go find another ride. Period.
Right.
That's it. That's life. So live it fully and unapologetically.
Right. It seems so simple, yet not everyone does it, because life is simple, not easy.
Simple, not easy. Yes.
Yeah. We're kind of given a line that it's like somewhere along the lines, it was like, it should be easy.
Yeah. No,
it's not.
Life is continually up leveling you. Think of Mario Kart. You're at level 1, you master it, you go to level 2, you master it, you go to level 3. You're never at a point in life where it keeps you, oh, you're just going to stay, oh, congratulations, you made it to this level. No, it's continually up leveling you. And guess what? Each of those new levels have different problems and different challenges. And it's like, whoa, I like that last level better. Well, too late. Like in life, you're continually getting pushed to that next level. So keep stepping up. Life, the only time that ends is when you're buried in the ground. Period. That's it.
Yep.
It's going to continually up level you until you're gone. So make the most of it. Accept the change. Trust your kick butt problem solving abilities. You're still here. Like you haven't died yet.
Right.
You lived through all the crap you didn't think you were going to live through. I'm raising. How many times do you think this is it? It's done now. There's no getting out of this. This is it. This is the big one. And we're still here. So guess what? You got that track record of figuring it out. So keep figuring it out. Life's going to throw you twists and turns, curve balls, nail you in the head or the back. You know, if we're talking baseball, you're gonna get kicked in the balls. Like if you're a man or a woman, you're gonna get slapped in the face. Like it's just life is gonna do what life does, and just stay calm, cool, collected. Say, okay, I didn't expect that, but here's where I am. Now what? Where am I going?
And through your experience, have you I'm going to hallucinate that you've had coaches, mentors yourself, and still do. So like, how important has that been as part of your journey?
Huge. I mean, I have a 5-step success magnet system that people ask me, Tom, how do you do it? I've been the national bicycle champion, #1 in 5 sales organizations, #1 honor man out of boot camp in the Marine Corps, 3 meritorious promotions in 4 years in the Marine Corps, gone on to produce multiple tens of millions of dollars in online results. And everyone asks, how do you do it? And it's literally 5 steps. Vision. I had the vision. That's what I want. Stop, think, act. I believed it was possible for me. I believed if others can do it, I can do it too. I believed in the law of cause and effect. I believed in my history of setting a goal and achieving it. Right? I believe in my commitment, my consistency. My 3rd step is identify and align. Find somebody who's done what I'm looking to do and align to the best of your ability. Nowadays, you can align with videos like this. Hopefully this connected some dots for you. You can align on YouTube, on Audible, all these different things. Or you can engage with a coach, which I've done in the tune of live events and coaching and mentoring, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars at this point, that had a strong ROI. And the 4th step is commitment to action, right? You can't go from a white belt to a black belt by just reading. You got to get out there and act and take the proper steps that are yours to take. And then the fifth step, I call the secret step, is have fun. This journey is brief, so make the most of it. You're at the amusement park, have fun. Stop complaining, stop whining, stop saying how much of a victim you are, and just get out there and live it and go fully and unapologetically. Where are you and where are you wanting to go? Clarity, there's a quote, lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Clarity is the key. Where am I and where am I looking to go? If you don't know where you're going, you're just a boat out there wandering around. Boats know when they leave where their destination is. Like, and then Napoleon Hill talked about that in the book that was released in 2011.
So Outwitting the Devil?
Yeah, Outwitting the Devil. Drifter, or you're a drifter or a non-drifter. Only 2 out of 100 people are non-drifters. 98 out of 100 are drifting around. Where are you going? I don't know. Okay, well, you're going to get there because you have no destination. You just wander around.
There's a quote from Alice in Wonderland. Alice is stuck in the Underland, and she gets to the Cheshire Cat, and she's freaking out. She's like, "Oh, how do I get out of here?" And he says, "Well, where do you want to go?" And she says, "I don't care, anywhere but here." And then he says, "Well, it doesn't matter which way you go then."
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Anyway, right. So gain clarity is the lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Clarity is the root of all success. Gain clarity. Where am I in my health? Where am I wanting to go? Where am I in my key relationships? Where am I wanting to go? Where am I in my finances? Where am I wanting to go? Gain clarity on those 3 simple things. And as long as you're taking action, you fulfill the quote from Earl Nightingale. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal or ideal. As long as you're taking one step after next, you're a success. You don't have to wait till you reach that. No, if you're in school looking to get a degree, as long as you're going to class and doing the homework, you're a success. If you're a marketer who's got the goals and visions of the results, as long as you're putting offers out there and you're testing and tweaking and getting conversions, you're a success. Don't feel it has to be a certain level. Just have that trust. Like, one step at a time. I'm making progress. I'm getting there.
So how would you define success?
Doing what I want, where I want, with whom I want, when I want. Just living, being fully me, fully and unapologetically, and working with people that are amazing. That's what I do. I live my dream right now, and I help others dream bigger and create their dream, turn that into a reality.
Yeah. And that's how we originally met, which I found hilarious that we didn't know each other, considering how the industries we work in and how close at the time we lived. But the marketers cruise, I want to just kind of share where we met, is really a testament to what you just shared, as far as surrounding yourself with people, enjoying the process, continuing to add value, and really that energy then is what sets the tone for that whole experience. And I'm not obviously selling the cruise; it's probably sold out now anyway. But what was the experience for you? Because you started with, at the beginning of that, it was you, Mike, and Lou.
Yeah.
What was the genesis and the original goal, and then what it turned into?
So it actually was a coaching program that Mike, myself, Donna Fox, and Paulie Sable had, called I-5 Gold. And that was in 06. And we're like, you know what? We wrapped that up. We did a whole year of coaching program. We decided to end it in January of 07 with a farewell Bon Voyage I-5 Gold cruise. So it was a going away mastermind for our coaching clients. I forgot 40 to 50 people or so, maybe 60 came on the first one. And after that, then we talked to Captain Lou, like, hey, maybe we do this on a regular basis. And then it transitioned into the marketers cruise. So it was really just a fun thing to do with our cool and now highly successful. Many of them are highly successful, well-known leaders in the marketplace now. That was just a fun way to end that coaching program. And it transitioned into, let's just do this once a year. And it turned into, I think we're on the 18th one now, coming up in January of 2025. So yeah, if you haven't registered yet, feel free to go to check it out, marketerscruise.com.
Yeah, it is amazing. This will be our 3rd year. So we're definitely, we're just, our daughter looks forward to it. We take Ellie with us, and it's definitely a wonderful opportunity to connect with like-minded people. And it's a powerful experience, because that's the most important thing, I think, is our relationships.
Correct.
Who do we invest our most powerful resources, our time and our energy, our emotions that we shared earlier, to kind of circle back to that. When you feel those emotions come up, you're like, oh, wait, something's not right. It's really important to be around like-minded, like-souled, like-valued people who then their model of the world at least is somewhat similar.
Correct.
Right. It may
Right.
not be identical. We all are different and unique, but at least we have a value system and a support system. And I found, pretty much everyone on there willing to bring their best to each other. So with that being said, what are you working on now? If someone wanted to learn more about you, what are you excited about? What are you passionate about? And how can we, kind of keep you out there to help even more?
There's a lot going on. I have a lot of cool stuff. The best way to learn more about me is go to tombeal.com, TOMBEAL.com. And there you're going to see a whole bunch of cool things that I have going on. I'm at this point where I do what I want, where I want, when I want, with whom I want. And I got a whole bunch of fun projects going on. I do the marketers cruise. I got webinar con coming up. I've got a thing that I do with an investment service that I help them uh, and some other clients that I work with that are doing amazing things. So go to tombeal.com. There's a lot of free value there. Like I love giving, as you witnessed here. There's a whole bunch of free value at tombeal.com, and check it out, get in my world, and look forward to helping you gain clarity and get from where you are to where you want to be. Actually, one of the things there is what I call a quiver of clarity, and it's there at tombeal.com, but that's a $25,000 mastermind that I was holding in the island of Tenerife years ago. And after this training, the people that invested 25,000 or 12 people that invested 25,000 euro to be there, they all said after this training, it was worth their investment of 25,000 euro. So that's for free at tombeal.com. Lack of clarity is the root of all failure. Clarity will be the root of all your success and future results. Check that out.
Love it, brother. Well, I can't thank you enough for really sharing your most valuable assets. Again, your time, your energy, your wisdom. It's been an absolute joy getting to know you, and it's been. I just look forward to doing more stuff with you because we're kindred spirits in that we're just wanting to be sure we're making the world a better place than when we got here and enjoy the process.
100%.
So,
Thanks for having me, Doug. This has been a
of course,
real fun conversation. I hope to hear some feedback from you watching this. I'd love to hear what resonated with you most. I'm sure Doug would love that as well. What part
absolutely.
spoke to you most? Happy to hear that.
Love it. We will put that on there and then just reach out to you and myself to share that.
Perfect. Thanks for having me,
Right
Doug.
on. Thank you. God bless.